Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and now the patch is finally live. Let's go ahead and dive into some of the skills. The first one that we're doing is going to be Javelin, and I tell you what, some of these nodes are looking extremely powerful. So let's go ahead and go through and tell you which nodes I think are really good, which nodes I think will be questionable, and some of the different ways that you could build it that would be really cool. So starting off, let's go top left. We got Go for the Legs, in which you get some bleed chance and slow chance, really nice. The bleed chance, not a huge thing for me, but the slow chance is really nice that it's built into the tree, which means that you don't have to put it as a suffix on your weapons, which would be nice, especially if you're running a polearm and you're limited to two options as you're wearing a two-hander. For Keen Outlook, we have max bonus hit damage based upon how far away enemies are, so the more ranged you are, the more damage you can do. This is awesome, which means that you can try and kite from a long distance and do up to 100% more damage. That's very powerful. For Forceful Hurl, we have maximum physical penetration and maximum lightning penetration. You can get up to 150% lightning and physical penetration. That's pretty big. That's very powerful. That's going to double your damage, more than double your damage. So that's pretty big. And then we got 1 point in Strategic Patience, which can give you another 50% damage multiplier, but will reduce your attack speed. So far, what I can tell you, a lot of more damage modifiers, which means this skill is probably going to end up hitting really, really hard. We got Spear to the Thigh, which increases your damage over time if you're really wanting to build into that bleed. Probably not the way that I'm going to go with it. Holy Trail, we got Fire and Lightning Damage Trail, healing per second, and it gives it a cooldown. When you throw the javelin, it's going to leave a trail behind that deals fire and lightning damage to enemies each second. If you're building into the damage over time way, I would probably recommend this. It also can heal you for 6 seconds, which is really cool. Then we got Pilgrimage, which gives you fire damage, lightning damage, melee ignite chance on cooldown, which means after you use the javelin, you have that 4-second cooldown. What's cool about this is it means that you now have melee ignite chance, so you can go from a throwing attack to a melee hybrid playstyle, which might end up being fun. We'll have to play around with that eventually. Not sure how well it'll work, especially if you're trying to stay at range and then having to be in melee, but maybe it'd be nice for throwing at enemies, and then when they get into melee range, you can throw down your melee attack and do a nice hybrid build. And then here we have Path of Judgment. Holy Trail's damage now scales with your increased healing effectiveness multiplicatively. This one node might make dots worth it, in my opinion. The fact that you can get 1% more damage multiplicatively per 1% of healing effectiveness, if you get 3, 4, 500% healing effectiveness, this is huge. So I could actually see some dots being really powerful with this build, but we'll have to wait and see. We got Burning Strength, which can give you up to 100% ignite chance. We have Siege Barrage, which will be the way that it converts it into raining it down. Instead of it being a throw attack, you'll throw it up in the air. The 3 javelins will come down in the area that you were aiming. It gives it a much larger mana cost. We got Battle Standard, which will increase that javelin damage by 250% more damage. However, now you only rain down 1 spear, but you get increased damage per point of attunement, and you get increased armor per point of attunement. So if you're stacking attunement, you're going to get a lot of increased damage and a lot of increased armor and be really tanky. And this puts a banner right there in the middle, so you're buffed for 4 seconds. Now, the cooldown is 6 seconds, so you can't have 100% uptime of it unless you get into some cooldown reduction, which we'll see if that's in here. We got Surprise Initiative. This causes you to have Javelin is now a combo ability. The first part throws the battle standard, and the second part causes you to lunge to the flag. So not only do you throw it, but then you'll lunge directly to it. I assume lunge would have to not be on cooldown. It does put lunge on cooldown. This works even if the battle standard has already been picked up by an enemy, which is cool. We'll get into that in a second, what that means if an enemy picks it up. But what's cool about this is it means that you can throw it, and it's kind of like Smite, where you smite an enemy and then you teleport to it. It's kind of like that, but you can do it with lunge now, which is really cool. You could throw your javelin, lunge to the enemy, and then use your melee skill, which we'll get into a little bit more of the hybrid skills on the bottom. There's good ways to build in for more damage for them. We have Banner of Restoration. It now heals allies around it each second. This increases the healing up to 100 healing per second, and if you scale healing effectiveness, it'll increase that. We got Ardent Symbol. The battle standard now lasts longer, but is still limited to 1 standard, so you can only have 1 flag, but it'll last longer, so you can get 100% uptime of it. We have Capture the Flag. This one's really interesting and really cool. If an enemy walks over the battle standard, it captures it and carries the flag until it expires. So maybe if you feared an enemy and they're running away from you, you could throw it, they would run into it, pick it up, and then you could lunge into them and then hit them with a melee attack. It'd be a really interesting concept to see how you can play this out. It seems like most enemies would be running towards you, so it would be one of those things where it seems like you'd be lunging basically nowhere, you know, you'd be meeting in the middle, but we'll see how it plays out. We got Divine Intervention. The battle stand now casts Smite at targets nearby every 1.6 seconds. This one's pretty cool. I like this. And then with Righteous Descend, you can increase the Smite frequency and you increase Smite's base crit chance. You get up to 10% more base and you can make it go 100% more frequently, which would bring it down to 0.8 seconds. So every 0.8 seconds, you could cast Smite on an enemy from your banner, which would be really cool. If you're playing a Smite build or doing lots of Smite damage, this would definitely be a fun way to do that. Down towards the bottom left, we've got Serrated Javelin, which gives you some Armor Shred chance and Armor Shred duration. We got Excellent Balance, which reduces Javelin's mana cost. You can reduce it by up to 9. The base cost is 3, so you can actually make it free to cast. And if you build into the increased cost for the Siege Barrage, you can reduce it down to about half of what it would have been. Perfect Setup is going to make it to where after you directly use Javelin, you don't proc it from somewhere else, you directly use it, your next melee attack will cost less mana. You can reduce the mana cost of your next skill by up to 25, which I believe is the same base cost of Erasing Strike now, which means you can basically make a really powerful melee skill be free. And then for Sacred Forge, you can increase the next damage of Judgment or Forge Strike multiplicatively by up to 60%. Going off to the left, we have Holy Spears, throwing lightning damage added. You can get up to 40 added throwing lightning damage. I'm telling you, lightning's probably the way to go with this skill if you're wanting to do a lot of hit damage. Divine Throws converts physical to lightning damage. It also converts all your Ignite and Bleed to Electrify chance. Not too worried about that. Purify Lightning will give Electrify chance and Electrify effect. Also not too worried about that. But this one, Divine Fury, Piercing Lightning Spears, is the one we saw where they throw it, it hits a target, and then it splinters off towards all the nearby enemies. Increases the mana cost by 4 per point. You can officially put 2 in here and have the base cost with the 3 points and the negative cost, and only cost 1 mana. If you also include that, you can get -6 on the 2 rings. If you have tier 1 to tier 5 physical throwing damage, you'll be able to knock that cost down by 6, which means you could officially put 3 points into Divine Fury and it would still be free. If you put the 4th point in, it'll cost a little mana, but that's basically nothing. So you can definitely max this out and not have too much of a mana cost and have up to 8 Piercing Lightning Spears going off. Seems really cool. Down here we got Monster Piercer. Hit damage to high health mobs. You can get up to 120% more damage for your high health hit, which is really cool. That's really going to improve the big inertial burst of damage you can do to enemies. We have Horde Spiker, hit damage per pierced enemy. You can raise that up by 30% for a maximum hit bonus of 120% if you happen to pierce to at least 4 enemies. And then for Beast Ender, the base crit chance of the skill can be increased. I kind of hate that this is all the way out here near the end, but I mean, you can get up to 8% more base crit chance for the skill, which is really cool, which means you will be probably wearing a polearm. We'll have to see how that interaction of having that 20% effectiveness of the melee added damage converted into throwing attack damage, which will probably be really powerful. But overall, super excited for this skill. I think crit chance, I think it's going to be very easy to get up to 100%. Crit build, I think the hit damage version, especially the lightning hit damage version, is going to be very powerful. Building into dots, if you're already scaling healing effectiveness, especially now that Leech has hit a bit of a nerf, if healing effectiveness becomes the way to play it, this as a dot might be very, very powerful. And I really want to play around with this banner, especially the Capture the Flag, and see what some good ways of playing that are. And especially that smite casting. That seems really powerful if you're playing a caster. You can just throw a javelin just so that it's casting more smites for you, which means more smites will be going off all over the screen. So I really like all the different varieties that this skill tree is showing. It's really well done, really like it, and we'll be playing this. This will be the first build that we do. We will be building into the lightning version of it, doing the piercing lightning spears, and just see how it plays out. Alright, tell me what you guys think of the skill below. We'll discuss it in the comments. And as always, stay safe, travelers, and hope you're enjoying the patch release. We're really hyped right now. Hope to see a lot of you back here, and have a good day.